Welcome back, everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between the iPhone 11 and the Google Pixel 5. And I'm going to readjust this camera so much better. So the Pixel 5 just came out. I'm sure you guys already know what it is. It's just, it's Google's new $699 phone. They did send it out to me, thank God, because, I'm going in debt buying all these phones as 20 FEs, the iPhone 12s, and now this one. The iPhone 11 is actually about a year old at this point, but Apple is still selling this for $599. So the iPhone 12s are, obviously the $699, $799 price range. And this one is $599, which makes it $100 cheaper than a brand new Pixel 5. So I'll leave both of these linked down in the description from Amazon so you can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. But starting off with the front panel on both, first of all, side by side, you can kind of see they're about the same. The structure is kind of the same too. We have a hole punch display on the Pixel 5, a notch up top on the iPhone 11, and really they're kind of around the same size, to be honest. The iPhone 11 on the front has a 6.1-inch IPS panel on it. It's 828, so it's a little bit over HD panel, not full HD, but it's an overall good looking panel. I never really had any issues with it. I think the iPhone XR was the first one I had issues with, but this one is pretty much reincarnated with it. But going to the iPhone 12, I think that one's going to have a far better display, but this one is actually not bad either. I have a lot of respect for it. It gets very bright. It doesn't really look that bad, and it's kind of like a pretty good, expected panel. There's really nothing too crazy about it, and there's some advantages and disadvantages. Something like a Pixel 5 may be better in some areas, maybe worse, but this panel is actually pretty decent. Where the Pixel 5, on the other hand, has a 6-inch OLED display. Now this one is 1080p, so again, a little bit higher resolution, and it's also OLED, so that kind of adds a little bit more flavor and more character to a device like a Pixel 5 in my opinion. And I always like having like a better and brighter display, the higher resolution in an OLED panel over an IPS, so kind of keep that in mind. But a really big thing about the Pixel 5 is that you have that 90 Hz refresh rate, which is huge on this specific phone. You don't have that on the iPhone 11. You don't even have an OLED panel on it, which is okay for the most part, but you have that 60 and 90 Hz capability of going up to 90 Hz on the Pixel 5. So that kind of makes it a better deal in my opinion. And even though it doesn't have a notch, it still has a hole punch display, which looks really good. And the iPhone 11's notch, some people like it, some people don't. I personally don't care, but I like the way the Pixel 5 looks for sure. So in terms of the front, the Pixel 5 wins. On the bottom, you can see USB Type-C on the Pixel 5 and a lightning port on the iPhone 11. And as you can see on the iPhone 11, you have a glass back on it. With the Pixel 5, you would technically have an aluminum build. I thought honestly it was like a plastic or something like that. It feels kind of like cardboard, if I'm being honest. I was trying to think of what it was before, but it's actually aluminum with just this weird texture over it. You also have a fingerprint sensor up top as well, which I think is pretty cool. Realistically, you're going to have probably a more premium feeling device on the iPhone 11 or the Pixel 5, but I think the Pixel 5 still feels pretty good for the most part. You're going to have a case on it anyway, so it's really not going to matter too much. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up for the most part. Now, software-wise, this is another thing where people kind of flock to both of these devices for. Now, on the Android side of things, you tend to have, a better experience with stock Android, and Google built this phone technically, so this is a stock Android device. Day one updates, as soon as an update comes out, this phone is going to get it. Where on the Apple side of things, it's pretty much the exact same case as well. This phone, for the most part, is going to not only get, I think more frequent updates than the Pixel 5, but also it's going to probably last longer than the Google Pixel 5 as well in terms of stock software support. But another thing to keep in mind is that in the future, you're always going to have custom ROMs on this type of device. I think the iPhone 11 is beautiful. It's going to be lasting for a very long time too. It's barely even one generation old, so this phone is going to be lasting a while. The Pixel 5 is going to be lasting a while. I don't know if one's necessarily going to win over the other one, but the iPhone 11 is going to last longer, but the Pixel 5 is still going to be lasting for a very long time too. So in terms of software, that pretty much covers it up. Now let's go and do a little bit of a speed test between them to see which one is the faster one. Now the iPhone 11 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip, X-Core CPU with 4 gigs of RAM on each model, where the Pixel 5 on the other hand has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 620 GPU, and 8 gigs of RAM on the single model that's supported. So let's go and see which one is the faster phone between these two. Okay, let's go and clear out on all the apps in the background. Now unfortunately, I guess I didn't clear out of all of them on the iPhone 11. And on the Pixel, I guess we have to do this weird thing again. Okay, we're all loaded. We can do phone calls. 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone 11 was faster there. Now, animations wise, you guys might be able to see a little bit of a difference. There's a little bit more haptics going on the Pixel 5. I don't know why that's going on. We can go and do their designated app stores. 3, 2, 1. And I guess you could see right there too, we had a little bit of a pop-up here, but scrolling speeds, this is really surprising. Even though you have that 90 hertz refresh rate on the Pixel 5, for some reason it's like a little bit more glitchier than the iPhone 11. I was expecting it to be faster or smoother on the Pixel 5. It's definitely not the case. The iPhone 11 is definitely the smoother one, even though it mostly has to do with chipset. That's still a very cool thing to note. Now I have a ton of these apps that we can go and test through. We can do Fruit Ninja, 3, 2, 1. I may have to go and reset these in some fashion. Oh, probably not. As you can see, the iPhone 11 was that much faster. For some reason, Pixel 5 keeps crashing on Fruit Ninja. Well, I don't have no idea how to explain it. We do thank you. 3, 2, 1. And actually, the animation was smoother there on the Pixel 5. It was still smoother, I think, on the iPhone 11, but it was smoother than a lot of other Android devices on the Pixel 5. Scrolling through in this game, you can see it's about the same. I don't really think it was that big of a difference between them. It's a pretty basic game. And again, getting into this specific multitasking panel, they both are about the same too. So I did Netflix, but I screwed it up. Let's do Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. And the Pixel 5 was actually much faster there. That was like instantaneous. BOFA, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Pixel 5 was like really, really fast. The iPhone 11 was a little bit behind it. We do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And a little bit of a pop-up here, but we'll kind of add that, factor it in. I think honestly, without that pop-up there, they would have been almost identically the same. So even though the Pixel 5 is a little bit ahead, you do have to factor in that notification that came up. And I honestly think the iPhone 11 and Pixel 5 were going to be about the same. So about neck and neck there as well. And scrolling through, you guys can see they're going to be about the same. It's not going to be that big of a difference in this specific game. You can do Twitter, 3, 2, 1. Okay, they both were almost identical. You can do Stack, 3, 2, 1. Now we'll just wait until we get into the advertisements of both of these. That's usually what I do. And they both, again, were almost identical. That's super surprising to me. You can do Snake versus Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And the Pixel 5, I think, was a little bit faster there. The iPhone 11 was still pretty good for sure, but definitely the Pixel 5 was the faster one there. And scrolling through, I mean, again, this is a pretty basic game, but even then, the iPhone 11 was glitching up a little bit. The Pixel 5 didn't seem to be glitching up too much, but, maybe it did. We can go and end it off with the Road Racing 3. 3, 2, 1. Now, hopefully I don't have to download on either one of these devices because, again, that's going to be so annoying and I always have to go through it. A little bit of glitchiness going on the iPhone 11. Seemed like we got into the download panel again. And the Pixel 5, it's like stuck on this panel, which I don't know why it is. Okay, maybe I should touch both of them. And it seems to be that both of them are loaded or loading. And I think the Pixel 5 was the faster one, even though it was kind of showing me a black screen in the beginning with. I think the iPhone 11 will show us eventually, and we are into it eventually on the iPhone 11. So a couple of differences right there. I don't know which one was the complete faster one every single time. That one was still super surprising to me, I would say. If I had to pick one based on performance, I really don't know. I don't think one was the way faster one every single time. They both were kind of neck and neck in a lot of different areas. I think the Pixel 5 was smooth in some areas too. The iPhone 11 was smooth in some areas too. Like I said, I don't know if I would necessarily pick one based on performance, but maybe the iPhone 11, I think it probably was the more consistent, smoother one, maybe at the end of the day. Maybe that's how I would put it, but I still think the Pixel 5 is still extremely fast. So in terms of performance, that pretty much covers it up. Let's go ahead and hit on the cameras now. And on the back, like I stated, a dual camera setup on the iPhone 11 and on the Pixel 5, both wide-angle lens and ultra-wide sensors. On the Pixel 5, you have a 12.2 megapixel wide-angle lens, then a 16 megapixel ultra-wide sensor. Or on the iPhone 11, we have a 12 megapixel wide and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide. And looking on the GUI side by side, you can kind of see a couple of differences. You can see that, maybe you have more features on the Pixel 5. And I really only say that because this is Android. Androids, you tend to have more, software enhancements in the camera than on iPhones, but even Pixel 5 isn't even that crazy when it comes down to it. But both actually look pretty good. Now, another thing I want to show you is they both have portrait mode too, which is pretty interesting. I like that. Portrait modes usually are a little bit different on Androids than on iOS, so keep that in mind. I've done a lot of comparisons between these two devices, and I've already seen a ton of different camera comparisons for sure between the Pixel 5 and other phones, and the Pixel 5 actually has a pretty good camera. Now, the iPhone 11, like I said before, is more or less of what we expected. The iPhone 11 with that wide-angle lens looked really good. I've done a lot of photos, a lot of videos on this phone, but also that ultra-wide sensor is really cool as well. So if you go and zoom out, which I'm on the wrong lens, if you go and zoom out, you can actually zoom out a lot, and it's really cool. Right now you're like right here on this camera, which is really awesome. And you can do 4K at 60 on this phone as well, which is really cool. And you have a lot of capability in this camera. You have portrait mode, night mode, all those different things. And for sure, at the end of the day, the iPhone 11 has a really, really good camera setup on it. I never had any problems with it. And even now in 2020, going into 2021, even when the iPhone 13 comes out, this phone is still going to have a solid camera for sure. Where the Pixel 5 is pretty much in that same type of, area as well. It's almost the exact same thing as the iPhone 11. You have the wide angle lens and ultra wide sensor. And if you want to zoom into a lot of photo, I mean, you could, but it doesn't have a telephoto lens. But if you want to zoom out, you also have that capability. Now I'm in portrait mode. If I go into camera mode, I can go and zoom out just as much as I could on the iPhone 11, which is really cool. You still have 4K at 60 on this device as well. So the cameras are gonna be around the same. I don't know if one's gonna be exactly the craziest winner. Like I said before, I've taken a couple photos on the Pixel 5. I've taken many photos on the iPhone 11, and I like this phone a lot, but this one still handles perfectly fine. On the front, you have an 8 megapixel sensor on the Pixel 5 and a 12 megapixel sensor on the iPhone 11. You can only do 1080p on the front camera of this one, where you can do 4K at 60 on the iPhone 11. So some people may prefer the iPhone 11, some people may like the back camera on this. So that's kind of how I would say. I think the iPhone 11 has the better overall camera, but the Pixel 5 still holds up in the camera department for sure. Now ending it off with the battery life, the Pixel 5 has a 4080 mAh battery, the iPhone 11 has a 3110 mAh battery, and between these two, I would probably tell you I think the Pixel 5 probably isn't as good as the iPhone 11, and I say that because of two reasons. One, you have that 90Hz refresh rate on the Pixel 5, and you have a higher resolution on the Pixel 5 as well. Now even though it's a variable refresh rate, meaning sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, I still would kind of give the edge to the iPhone 11. With that lack of 90 Hz and that more optimized chipset, in my opinion, with that Apple A13 chip, I've had a really good battery life and standby time of something like the iPhone 11 versus something like the Pixel 5. But with that being said, I still think the Pixel 5 is like neck and neck. Like this one is very close to the iPhone 11. I don't think the iPhone 11 is, way superior to the Pixel 5. But if I had to say it, I think the Pixel 5 is perfectly fine, to be honest. And they both have wireless charging. The Pixel 5 is said to have reverse charging, but it's not reverse wireless charging. So if you have a USB to USB Type-C or whatever, you can probably charge up a device from your Pixel 5. So I think that's cool, and that adds to the, overall battery features. So that is actually a really cool thing on the Pixel 5, but I still think the iPhone 11 for sure holds up for sure. I think it probably wins in the battery life department. So to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you pick up the Pixel 5? Should you pick up the iPhone 11? Well, let me start off with the iPhone 11 because I think there's a lot of pros with this device. First of all, you're getting that iPhone experience, that iOS experience that a lot of people love, that a lot of people hype up, and I personally like it. But it's kind of funny because compared to the Pixel design and the Pixel, overall life, you have a really good experience on the Pixel 5 as well when it comes down to Androids. Now on the iPhone 11, you're getting extremely good performance and a pretty good screen, great build quality. It's technically cheaper right now than the Pixel 5 in the brand new market, even. Great cameras, solid both front and back, and you're getting software supports for extremely long amount of time and much longer than the Pixel 5 for at least like a couple of years. And there's really not too much to hate on it. It looks good, it feels good, it's a very solid phone overall. Whereas on the Pixel 5, it's really like almost 99% of what the iPhone 11 is, just in an Android format. Now you don't get Face ID, you have the fingerprint sensor on the back. It's not as great of a build quality in my opinion as the iPhone 11, but I think this phone is still an extremely good phone. You have a great back camera, you have a great battery life for the most part, you have pretty good performance. You saw that it was pretty much almost the same as the iPhone 11. Maybe the 11 was a little bit faster, but the Pixel 5 is still going to have extremely good performance for that basic chipset, for that Snapdragon 765G that it has inside of it. A tremendous screen, that 6-inch panel that is 1080p and also has that 90Hz refresh rate. That is one of its biggest assets in my opinion, and that is one reason probably why a lot of people are going to flock to the Pixel 5, and it looks good and it feels good. So like I said before, if you want to pick up either of these ones, links are down in the description, but that really pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.